The job of the FBI, of course, is to help us in all this confusion. We said in the 1960s, J. Edgar Hoover was caught with his pants down. You know, when the Soviet Union after World War II emerged and the communists were getting strength all over the world, J. Edgar Hoover had trouble, man. His job was to smash the Communist Party. And using a stupid senator, they came to create an atmosphere in America where the Communist Party leaders were running for hiding in this country. I mean, running for cover. Hiding everywhere. They had them so the Communist Party couldn't breathe. By about 1955, I'm sure J. Edgar Hoover sat back, put his feet on his desk and said, the job is over. And just as he said that, Rosa Parks sat down. She just sat down. He just said, everything is over, and she sat down. And from the moment he sat down, that pig never sat down again until he died, following the African community in its struggles. He was caught with his pants down. Since he was a racist pig, there were no FBI agents who were African. Everything has its positive value. So you had to hurry up and train some. He had so much contempt for us that he couldn't think that these Africans could even shake the status quo, let alone turn America upside down and put changes upon it in the 60s that will be seen for the rest of its life, no matter how long that is, and it can't be too much longer. He had no respect for us. And so when the movement came up, this pig was caught unawares. There was no way for him to stop it. And believe it or not, the man who gave him the most trouble was Martin Luther King. Not Huey Newton and the Black Panther Party, not Kwame Ture and the Student Nonviolent Coordinator, but Martin Luther King. And the reason that Martin Luther King gave them the most trouble was because he thought that he could co-opt Martin Luther King. He thought Martin Luther King was just like any of the other leaders. Sooner or later he could be bought out. But Martin Luther King may have made errors in politics, but one error he never made. He loved his people faithfully and honestly. Yes, Martin Luther King could never compromise. They thought that he could be corrupted, if not materially, at least immaterially. But this, too, could not work. Martin Luther King was an honest man. And my love for him is founded in this area. We have so many corrupt leaders, so many garbage leaders, that when you find one like Martin Luther King, he shines like a gem in a cesspool. King has to be appreciated. How many pork chop preachers even went out to risk their lives for the people? They drove their Cadillacs everywhere in the South, paying no attention to the people. King risked his life for the people. And King risked his life because of his love for his people. He loved his people, and his people recognized this love, and they loved him. I mean, loved him. I remember when the Mississippi March was coming along, I was walking arm in arm with King. We came to a little town, all these old peasants, these old cotton pickers, hard workers that heard King was coming. They left the fields and came to stand on the road. When we came down, I heard one said, "There he is!" That's all I heard. Next thing, they were stepping all over me. That's all. And I heard one jump up and said, "Oh, Lord, I touched the hem of his garment." These people loved King. I remember very well on that march, when we started, there were problems with nonviolence with King. We're nonviolent on this march, Dr. King, there's no problem here. But the very first day of the march, I'll never forget it, we were walking. Dr. King was on my right. He had my arms hooked. I can't remember who was on my left, somebody else. This great old beefy, hunky, redneck cop, state trooper. You know, they always pick on big so you could be intimidated. Came walking fast. I thought he was coming for me because I'm the one making the noise. So I threw my chest out as hard as I could, hoping that when he touched me, he'd break his wrist. But this pig passed right by me and went and pushed King. I couldn't even believe it. What? He touched King? King was grabbing my arm. I was trying to get my arm out to get to that pig. And I was lunching. King said everybody grabbed him. They all grabbed me. Well, you know, it was a march between SNCC and SCLC and some other organizations. And, of course, we had competition all the time, the two of us, these two organizations. But don't get confused. When we face the enemy as one. And we wouldn't hesitate to take a bullet for each other at any time. SNCC people tell me, you made a big mistake. You violated nonviolence. And, you know, after the march at nights, we'd have meetings. And then we'd criticize each other. Seriously, you know, if SCLC made a mistake, we'd crucify them. And if we made a mistake, they'd crucify us. And all through the march, always going through my head is tonight, they're going to give us some trouble. When the meeting came at night, not one SCLC staffer raised the issue. King was the only one who raised it. He said, you know, Kwame, he said we have a nonviolent march, and you know, you are just no longer a sneak field secretary. You're the leader of the organization now, and your actions are not what they used to be. They're all out of proportion to your individual personality. So your actions must be clear. He spoke. I knew I was incorrect. When he was finished, I told him, I said, Dr. King, I promise you one thing. You know me. I've always been nonviolent, and if I've ever broken nonviolent discipline, it's been this time. I said, you can tell, because we used to laugh at him, how he used to call, who was the Attorney General, Katzenbach? Or, I can't remember, but you know, he used to call them. He said, you call your little white boy up there, and you tell him that if he wants this march nonviolent, I promise him, they can brutalize anybody they want on this march, starting with me. I'll be nonviolent. But if they touch you, nonviolence is over. That's exactly what I told him. And when he died on April 4th, I knew what my job was. I knew precisely what it was. Nonviolence would be over this day, here and now. They'll know it. Everybody who we have contact with, start burning the cities. Let them know we ain't playing this. The people bury King. People don't make the mistakes that King made. King made a mistake. King makes the same mistake that Mandela makes. The same mistake that Albert Lithuli makes. They're all good people and we love them because they're honest, they're full of integrity. But they make a great error. Their error is they do not properly understand the level of human quality of the enemy at the given moment. But the people know the level of human quality of the enemy because the people deal with them every day. So while we love King and we applaud for him and we appreciate him, we follow him, when he says nonviolence always, we just look at him nicely. He's nice, you know he means well. But get the guns. Get them. And this can be seen everywhere. If you look at the history of Martin Luther King, when he was in Montgomery, Alabama, he swore nonviolence. They dynamited his house. When they dynamited his house, he talked nonviolence. The people came and told him, hey, you sit down. We're putting bodyguards around your house. King said, well, you know, you don't know nothing about this one, Dr. King. You can lead us, but we're going to take care of you. We're putting bodyguards around your house. And bodyguards were put around the house of Martin Luther King in Montgomery, Alabama, as early as 1956. The people don't play. When the leaders make errors and they love their leaders, they'll protect the leaders. And King's error of making believe that nonviolence should be a principle used at all times was never accepted by the masses of the people. Never. And his death clearly showed that. You must not think that these people didn't love King. On the contrary, it is because of their love of King that they're able to carry on the actions they did to bury him properly, like a guerrilla should be buried, with fires burning everywhere in the camps of the enemy. The FBI killed Martin Luther King. We said J. Edgar Hoover had great deals of problems. He wasn't even thinking about Rosa Parks. He didn't even know who she was. He couldn't think that these Africans could rise up and burn down the cities. These Africans could rise up and cause casualties in America. These Africans could cause America to change their policies because of the relationship outside the world in their struggle with what they call the Cold War and the USSR. He never even envisioned that. These little Africans, be serious. But the people, the almighty people, they will always shock the enemy because the enemy can never know the people. This is a fact. Go and you will see. When J. Edgar Hoover killed Martin Luther King, that pig had arranged for us to have meetings all over the country in churches. They had it prepared. Churches? Ain't nobody going to church today, Jack. I remember James Brown. He got that bit. I did it to shoot him. He got down. He said, I ain't in it. What? Listen, when the people rise up in rage, if you ain't with them, you better be cool. Don't get in their path because they will walk over you. They will walk over you. We said the FBI killed King. J. Edgar Hoover had a real problem. He had just quashed the Communist Party, finished all that, had everything under control, and now these Africans are screaming. And not only King, but King is now producing others like Snake and the Black Panthers, etc., etc. They have to be stopped. It's clear. You must understand that I understand in revolution there is no sentimentality. The FBI seeking to shoot me just as natural as me seeking to shoot them. That's all. And no need for sentiment in it. I have a position which is opposed to their position, they have a position which is opposed to my position, and two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time. So there's no sentimentality here. Revolution is scientific, never emotional. It has its own laws, just like everything under the sun, indeed, including the sun. Of course. Just because we don't know it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The laws to go to the moon were here since man and woman first came on the face of the earth. We just came to find them out a couple of years ago, but they were here. The laws governing social behavior is here. In a capitalist system, they don't even direct your attention there because they tell you, oh, you know, you can't control human behavior. It's so unpredictable, so don't try to put laws on human behavior. Garbage. There's laws on everything. Even human development itself has its own unfurling laws, just like everything in life. FBI J. Edgar Hoover had a decision. I have to kill these Africans. I have to kill their leaders. They're making too much trouble. But J. Edgar Hoover is a political man. He's not just a cold-blooded assassinate. No. When the FBI and the CIA kill, it is properly planned. It's a political decision. It's always a political decision. This man, Lumumba, they told Kennedy, they told Eisenhower, this man, Lumumba, is making a lot of trouble in the Congo. If we don't get rid of him, our interests are in trouble. So Eisenhower says, get rid of him. There's nothing sentimental about it. You don't even know Lumumba. So you mustn't think that in these struggles there is sentimental hatred. No, no, no. FBI J. Edgar Hoover is a cold-blooded assassinator. But he's not emotional at all. He has to make clear political decisions. He has to kill him, so he has to kill. But here's his problem. He doesn't have to worry about the right, the NAACP, and the Urban League. His trouble is King and to the left. Why is King his trouble? King, we said, is his trouble because they thought in the beginning that King was just a simple pork chop preacher. And they thought certainly they can give them pork chop and he'd sit down after a while. That's just what they thought. That's just what just like they do to all the others. You know, some they don't even give pork chop, they let them smell it and they sit down. You know, what makes me mad with our reactionaries is they sell out our people for nothing. I mean, what makes me mad about Africa is the scum of our race who rules our country sell our countries for Mercedes. These pigs don't know the value of a diamond. They know nothing. They find a diamond, they go to the white man. The white man says, oh, it's good, I'll give you a Mercedes. Mercedes? Yes, your diamond is worth $1 million. They sell us cheap, you know. Me, if I ever sell my people, I promise you, I'll sell them for a high price because I know the value of my people. How about $300,000? Okay, you can use that to call me with. Sell my people for chump change? Be serious. But they do it all the time. So since King wasn't one of those chump change preachers, and they gave him a lot of publicity, being sure they'd be able to control him, gave him the Nobel Prize, being sure they'd be able to control him, but the more they gave him, the less he was able to be controlled, and the more publicity they gave him among the masses, and the more the masses loved him. So because of them and their error, they came to put King squarely in the face and the center of the movement, and everybody loved King. J. Edgar Hoover had to kill somebody, so he said, all right, if we start on the left with SNCC and the Black Panther Party, since Martin Luther King is an honest man, when we kill and the community get mad, King will move to the left. They had seen this clearly from the Black Power March in Mississippi. Matter of fact, at the end of the Black Power March, King was closer to SNCC and closer to the core than he was to NAACP and Urban League. And by the time we got through with him, he was a major force against the war in Vietnam. Let me make it clear to you. SCLC was not the first organization to attack the Vietnam War. It was a Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. We did it by ourselves and were isolated. And when we had our meetings, oh, we're in trouble, we by ourselves, we can take them on. I said, no, we're not going to take them on by ourselves. King going to take them on. King going to take them on? Yeah, King going to take them on. We're going to make King take them on. And we worked out a clear program for King. Nonviolent, full of love. Every time you see King, pose the contradictions to him about his position of nonviolence in America and supporting violence in Vietnam. I remember one night in Chicago, I was there and I heard King was there. Oh, and you know, Dr. King was like all clear African men have appreciation for all beautiful things. And I went to see him with some nice, beautiful things. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. And we sat down. I said, I haven't seen you in such a long time. I said, oh, Dr. King, these two young sisters have been dying to meet you. If they don't meet you, they'll kill me. So we met them, sat down. We talked a little while. I said, Dr. King, you remember, what was that brother's name? Oh, okay. Do you remember Frank Hughes? He said, Frank Hughes. Frank Hughes said, yeah, Dr. King, remember that's his brother down in Mississippi? Oh, yeah, I remember him, Kwame. What happened? Where? I haven't seen him in a long time. Where is he? I said, you remember how he joined the movement? You gave him so much advice on nonviolence? Because he was a little rough brother, lumping proletariat. Couldn't believe in nonviolence. And King himself sat the brother down, talked to him. The brother got convinced. I said, you remember King said, yes. He said, where is he, Kwame? I said, Dr. King, he's dead. He's dead. What happened to him? Well, he got shot in Vietnam. In Vietnam? Yeah, Dr. King. I guess your nonviolence didn't go far enough to Vietnam, or maybe it did. Maybe he just put his gun down and let the Vietnamese shoot him. Hitting him hard, without pity and without mercy. But Dr. King, that's your policy. You tell us to be nonviolent here, not to be nonviolent in Vietnam. That's what you get. We knew that the forces of the FBI, through all sorts of infiltration, were trying to stop King from taking the correct position. Telling him that, you know, this is not domestic matter, you shouldn't get involved in this international matter. The political problem for King was clear. Once he came out against the war in Vietnam, he must come out against the federal government. King, we say, was an honest man. And that's why we will always love him, because what our people need more than anything else throughout the world is just honest men and women who truly represent their interests. That is all that we need, nothing else. King knew precisely when he did it. But King, oh, King, generations will praise you. They don't know you yet. They will come to know you. King was a man who could come to criticize himself publicly without the slightest fear. The American capitalist system job is to confuse us, so they give you, I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream as his greatest speech. Anybody knowing King knows that the I have a dream speech is one of his most mediocre speeches. Anybody knowing King. But some people don't even know King. They don't even know the speech. All is, I have a dream. The American capitalist system can give you the most shallow understanding of history. The most shallow. Most people in America know Nelson Mandela. They don't even know who the ANC is. We won't even talk about the Pan-Africanist Congress of Tanzania. They will give you a shallow understanding. Dr. King recognized he made an error. And when he came to criticize himself in his speech against the war in Vietnam, which is one of his best speeches, but they won't play that one for you. But if you really love your people, I recommend that you go and listen to that speech. Even if you can't read and don't like reading, it's on a record. And if you can listen to rap, ain't nobody can rap like King. I'll tell you the truth, it's fact. One time I remember in Sunday, King invited me, he said, called me up in his Atlanta Saturday, he said, Kwame, what you doing tomorrow? I said, oh, tomorrow's Sunday. Oh, Dr. King, I said, I have a lot of work to do. He said, you're not going to the Lord's house? I said, oh, the Lord will have to forgive me, you know. But I'm just a mortal. I'm not like him. He can work 6 days and rest on 7. I got to work all 7. He said, well, I want you to come to my church tomorrow. I said, well, Dr. King, we have a lot of work. He said, well, I'm preaching tomorrow. I said, well, Dr. King, in that case, I'll definitely come. Because even if I don't believe in your Jesus, when you preach, I got to tap my feet. That's reason the King can rap. If you were listening to this speech, King, in criticizing himself, said, there's a point where caution can become cowardice. And he was speaking about himself. And when he came to speak, he recognized precisely what the problem was. It was against the American government. And his statement was, my government is the perpetrator of the most terroristic crimes in the world today. He said it. The die was cast here, Jack, if others didn't know it. Even we ourselves in Sticks said, uh-oh, we pushed King, but now he's gone to the brink. I myself didn't think he would go that far, but King was an honest man. When he saw he made an error, he corrected it. The Chinese say if you make an error, you know it's an error, you don't correct your error, you made your second error. King never made this error, he corrected it completely. King went after the American government and mobilized people against the war in Vietnam till he came to occupy the center stage against the war in Vietnam. Here, J. Edgar Hoover was really in trouble. Yeah, he was trying just to stop the Africans in America, and now they jumped to Vietnam. These little cotton-picking people gonna talk about international policy against the government? You know that racist pig was steaming. Had to kill now, there was no question about it. And not only that, we used the cover of King, the Student Nonviolent Coalition Committee, to attack the draft. King was talking about peace. We're talking about destroy the draft, Jack. That's their machinery to send us there. Destroy it. And we destroyed it. Destroyed it, of course. Enemy is only as big as you imagine him to be. Once you start fighting with him, you see he's just like you, just another man making errors and can fall. People who you will find in our community who tell you, you know, if you're a radical, the FBI will get you, and this is they're ones who've never fought the enemy. They look at television, they think the enemy is just, you know, just the FBI. They can just find anything. Oh, I knew they were chumps. I knew they were chumps from the beginning. 4 children were dynamited in Birmingham, Alabama, and the FBI didn't find them until 2 years ago when pressure was put on them. FBI, you can tell everybody, but I know you couldn't do nothing. You know why they couldn't find them? Because the FBI and the Ku Klux Klan and the Mafia is one and the same. I'm telling you the truth. Don't take my word for it, go and take their word. The CIA, the real scum, they themselves have admitted that they have themselves formed alliance with the Mafia to try and assassinate Fidel Castro so many times. They've said it, not me. They've admitted it. Like they can touch Fidel. Fidel Castro is a great man. From George Washington to George Bush, they will never find any president as loved as Fidel Castro is throughout the world. Fidel Castro is respected. They themselves tried to assassinate him. For what? Because he says simply, this is the way I want to run my country. I don't want none of your fascist democracy. Like America can give democracy to somebody bathed in genocide and slavery, you're going to give democracy to somebody. Come on, be serious. You can't give democracy to a dog. You can't give it to me. I built your country and you shoot me in the street like a dog. And you come to tell me about you're going to give somebody democracy? They don't even know how to spell it. You see, J. Edgar Hoover was in serious problem. He had to kill. But how to kill? If he started on the left, since King was an honest man and the people would get angry, King would move to the left. And when King moved to the left, he would move the entire people to the left. There was no question here. Therefore, a cold, calculated decision was made. Kill King first. It's like we say now, you must not get sentimental. King himself knows the position he occupies, just like any conscious man fighting a war knows, just like any soldier in Vietnam. He said to me, weren't you afraid when you went to Mississippi at 18 years old, 19 years old? I said, well, if I didn't go, I'd be in Vietnam. I don't see the difference in terms of the danger. Only difference, of course, I'm not going to be no mercenary for nobody, that's for sure. I only fight for my people. I decided a long time ago, my blood belongs to my people, nobody else. Nobody else. American imperialism will never get this one. Go fight in Vietnam. Baghdad, I don't even know the place. Go fight where? No, Jack, I don't know Saddam Hussein. I don't even speak Arabic, so if he insults me, I don't know, but I know English. And I knows who insults me. And I knows even the names they call me. So I'm not confused. I knows who my enemy is, and it is the FBI and the CIA. So they killed King. But as Secretary says, imperialism will never know the people. When they killed King, I said, J. Edgar Hoover and them had planned all sorts of memorial services. They were sure the people were going to be nonviolent. They were going to sit down in the 3 minutes after they killed King on the telephone. They were talking about, we got to be nonviolent. I said, who's talking? I said, hang up the phone. Nonviolence is over, Jack. All the contacts we have throughout this country, tell them, start burning. Non-stop burn. Let them know, Jack, that if they touch to the left of King, they're going to see what they're getting. Because King is talking about nonviolence, we burn it. They touch somebody talking about violence, and we really show them something. They killed King. There's no question about it. The FBI killed King. The FBI will be smashed. Of that, there isn't the slightest issue. The CIA will be smashed. Of that, there isn't the slightest issue. American imperialism everywhere is in serious trouble. As a matter of fact, everyone knows what George Bush knows. The United Nations is the best that the American dollar can buy. Just like all America's friends, look around the world. All Americans' friends are the best the American dollar can buy. When the American dollar falls, America will have nothing but enemies. Nothing but enemies. Indeed, the FBI, one of its secrets arm was this unlimited budget. It could bribe people, pay informers. Oh, they could do everything with money. But money cannot buy conscious men. Money cannot even come near conscious women. My grandmother used to tell me a long time ago, she said, son, if you have a friend and you try to buy him, you'll have an enemy. Everyone knows you can't buy friends, you can only buy enemies. Bush doesn't seem to know this. He thinks the one he buys, they really like him. He thinks like a slave master believes that all her cotton-picking, grinning from air to air slaves really, really love her and will die for her. None of them will burn her plantation. Some of us are crazy, we do burn. Bush is in serious trouble. The American capitalist system is in serious trouble, and the FBI shows this contradiction most of all. Look and you will see. Even CIA agents now have to quit the CIA and come before the people and tell the truth about the CIA. Look everywhere, you will see it. When in 1966 we said the CIA overthrew Nkrumah, we had no facts. People said, oh, you know, they're always saying something, but today nobody can say that. Even Stockwell in his book gives the proofs, names the agents who in strength have been overthrowing Kwame Nkrumah. The CIA has a history throughout the world that is hated by people. Hated everywhere, and it's righteous hatred. The people in America must understand what their responsibility is. The government which speaks in their name creates hatred for them all over the world.